1570 AM and W298BX 107.5 FM, Winterville, North Carolina.
All right, welcome back to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. Guess what? It's your girl. I'm back. I'm Tanisha. I'm going to be your host for the next 50 minutes with guests today, the education enthusiast. And today I'm excited to partner with you on this brand new show dedicated to the heart of the community, education. It's called Let's Talk K-12 Education. And it's a platform where we'll be diving deep into the world of K-12 educational landscape. We'll explore everything from current trends and best practices and a little bit of everything in between, all things encompassed around education. I'm excited to be an educational thought leader for you each week. I come to you with a rich background of over 20 years in education, children's ministry, Sunday or Bible school, as some of you call it, classroom teacher, leader, and now the visionary face and force and founder of Enrichment Strategist Services, LLC, an education consulting company. Again, I'll ask the question again this week. Are you a parent, educator, or community member passionate about K-12 education? I hope the answer to that is yes. Then you want to tune in each week to this same space, to this same place, every Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. for Let's Talk K-12 education. Now, as a former middle school teacher and currently grandmother to 8 school-age G babies, I recognize the importance of creating and establishing a positive, productive, sturdy foundation for a new, successful school year. I discuss with my 3 children regarding their children all the time. I'm the host, but you and the community mean the most. I am welcoming callers today to join me and my guest in the Back to Better, Back to Basics series part 2. I'm accepting calls throughout our time together. So if you want to join in on our fun, on our community PLC, please give us a call for dialogue at 252-756-2008. Don't just leave the communication there with you and your family. Go ahead and come on and give us a call so we can invite you in on our discussion today because you're in for a good show today. I'm just going to tell you that. All right. Today, I have the pleasure to be joined by 2 educators that I have worked alongside with them on an international project. I see I have a caller.
Hello, this is business listing verification with an urgent message.
Okay. All right. So today, I have the pleasure to be joined by 2 educators that I have worked alongside with them on an international project providing professional development and teacher training to Nigerian educators. In addition, we have our very own ecosystem and strategic partnership as a collaborative education consultant team for schools, for profit, nonprofit, small business, and federal government contracting for coaching and consulting services and programs. Yeah, we tough like that. So let me introduce to you these 2 ladies, and this is just 2 of a couple that we have. Let me introduce my guest today. I'm joined by Miss Rometha Gilmore. Rometha, Miss Educator Gilmore, a distinguished motivational speaker, educational consultant, advocate, and mentor to adolescent girls and women with over 2 decades of experience in public education as a classroom teacher, dean, assistant principal of curriculum, assistant principal of discipline, ELA program specialist. Ms. Educator brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to the table. Don't even look that old, honey. I know we some good looking women, honey. Say education keep you young. Her professional journey has been marked by her dedication to directing and advising both students and parents. She emphasizes the importance of inclusive and equitable education, tirelessly working to educate her colleagues and community on these vital issues. Currently, Ms. Rometha operates Girls on the Rise, a nonprofit mentoring organization, as well as a consultant. Mrs. Educator is a thought leader to educators, new and novice. Miss Rometha Gilmore, welcome to Let's Talk K-12 Education, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything you want to give the good people before we get into all this wonderful PLC that we're going to have today with
I
the
am
community?
just excited. Anything concerning education, I'm just excited to be in the rooms and having these conversations that are going to help parents and more so students in those classrooms and walking those hallways.
Awesome. That's why we're in a strategic alliance.
Yes.
So you see that smile? You see the other one over there? Oh, let me on the table too. So let me tell you a little bit about Miss Tiffany Proctor. Tiffany is the owner of It's a New Day Consultant and brings 24 years of education to the table. I told you, in education, they talk bad about it, but honey, we be staying looking young, right?
Mhm.
Specializing in school counseling, behavior management, MTSS, and adult education. And I will let her spell out what that acronym MTSS means when she's able to speak with you. Tiffany has dedicated her career to empowering students and educators alike. Her expertise and passion for making a difference in the lives of others truly make her a leader in the field. She can be reached by https www.instagram.com. It's a New Day Consulting. And you can email her at newdayconsulting31@gmail.com if you're interested in getting to know another. So we got what, 20, 40, 60 some years right here. It don't even look like it. Worth of
Yes.
expertise in the industry field. So Miss Tiffany Proctor, is there anything you want to tell the good community of awesome radio before we get started in all our fun today?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your program. And it is an honor. And just like Ramita says, anything concerning education, I'm on board to give tips, to help. So I'm excited
Yeah.
for the next 50 minutes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So
Yep.
we're going to go ahead and get right in it. I'm going to do just a quick recap for some of those because this is a brand new show. It's just started last week. So some things I'm just going to kind of dive right in as a review for the community that didn't get a chance to maybe see it last week. So just in case you missed last Tuesday, debut of Let's Talk K-12 Education, here's a review and recap. The goals of this show is about four key things: informing and engaging listeners, advocating for educational equity, inspiring a love of learning, and building community connections. So that is the premise of this show, that all things education, people that you see with me, they're with us, they're with you. We're all about trying to not just be, entertaining, but provide you with good quality information so that you and your kids and your families can have a great year. So listeners, again, if you have ideas for topics you like us to explore, don't hesitate to email us at let's talk K-12 education gmail.com. Again, please do not hesitate to email us because this is your show. I'm just the host, but you guys mean the most. And you can email me at let's talk K-12 education at gmail.com. So as we gear up for the new school year, I started the Back to Better, Back to Basics, Back to School series part one last week, which provides educational equity for families. As a recap, I gave you some tools, tips, and resources regarding how parents can support their child's education by creating a positive learning environment at home. I provided some educational apps that align with your child's curriculum. I provided a list of equitable educational apps that prioritize inclusivity, accessibility, and personalized educational experiences. I also gave some valuable online resources to support your child's education. Last but not least, I provided a list of tentative free K-12 activities for families at your local libraries. Guys, they are there to provide services. So get on your cell phone, give them a call, and see what they have to offer for families. If you would like those tools and resources promoting educational equity, head on over to Facebook and search Awesome Radio. Awesome, capital A, capital RADIO, 107.5 FM and 1570 AM with the purple and green logo. Scroll on down and for me, Tonitia Langley on the timeline. In that particular show, I have the gray hat listed on Let's Talk K-12 Education Show. If you want those resources that I provided in the very first Back to Better, Back to School. So before we get ready to head on to giving you guys some good information today, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to share some nostalgia, back to school, or any discussions that can relate. So, first thing, I'm going to provide a riddle to get you guys kind of woke, started to get ready to get your juices flowing. Do y'all know anything about getting the juices flowing, Rometha and Tiffany? At this
Yes.
time when you are getting your families ready. Before I give this riddle, what were some of the things that you guys did to wrap your head around going back to the classroom and getting your families together?
So for me, we set goals. I have two school age children, seventh grade, and I have an 11th grade, two sons. So we set some goals, short term and long term. I go in and I meet teachers, I email just to show, hey, I am on your team and I need you to know this face so that you see us
Yes.
together. You know that you can contact me at any time. They know the school rules. We follow them to the T, and we prepare for school the first day. My kids wear uniforms, so I get all of that prepared and laid out, and we just prep each day intentionally, setting the pace and the tone for the next day of school. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for me, I
What about you,
to
Rometha?
piggyback off of what Miss Tiffany has said, the same thing, setting goals. But for me, expectations are huge in my household because whatever that school and that district has set aside, that is what we want to make sure that we are adhering to, especially having Black young men. I have three boys and they've all graduated high school and college right now, but setting those expectations and knowing that respect is at the key, the foundation of
Mm-hmm.
everything we do. And if you respect yourself, you'll go into those schools and respect everyone else and everything that you're supposed to respect.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for me, going back to that classroom, decorating, that was huge. It's like one of the best times of the year, going in and setting those expectations for kids and just having that classroom
Yeah.
feeling warm and welcoming for those
Mm-hmm.
students to return.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. You guys kind of echo some of the same things I did. But right now, I'm going to give the good
Yes.
people, and I want them to call in, but to kind of get them into the flow of some schools have started, but some will be starting about 2 weeks. I'm going to give them a little riddle that my oldest daughter, Tasha, gave me, who is the mother of my three oldest grandchildren. So this is a little icebreaker, to kind of get the juices going, a little taste, get them ready back for homework, and as you guys say, setting those expectations and getting uniforms ready and getting the route ready. So I'm gonna give them a little brain teaser now. If you guys in the community and my listeners, if you guys know the answer to this riddle, I want you to call in. And this is kind of what we call an icebreaker or warm up or do now. But I'm going to give it to you guys to get ready for the school year. So, and again, this one, thank you, Tasha, for giving this one to me, my oldest daughter, again, the mother of my oldest three grandchildren. And it is a
Mm-hmm.
teaser. So here we go. If you know the answer to this riddle, give us a call on the show at 252-756-2008. Again, I'm going to give you a wake up riddle, and it pertains to getting into learning, an icebreaker to kind of get your juices moving at 252-756-2008. You ready? And Rometha and you guys, kind of bragged on how smart you are. So if they don't call in, then I'm gonna see if you guys can pick. Okay, you ready? All right.
Oh boy.
What
Let's.
No.
has four letters, sometimes has nine, never has five Again, callers, if you know the answer to this riddle that my oldest daughter gave me, what has four letters, sometimes has nine, but never has five letters? Give you guys about 30 seconds to call in, and then I'm going to see if Rometha or Tiffany has the answer to that riddle. Uh-oh, looks like I think they're afraid. I think my callers are afraid they're not calling in. You go ahead and get your minds and stuff prepared, guys, for back to school and homework and things that you have to do. So let me see if Tiffany or Rometha knows the answer to that. What has four letters, sometimes has nine, but never has five letters?
Go ahead,
I'll give you
Tiffany.
10 seconds. And it's right there. It is right
It's
up
in
under
your
the letter.
face, right? It's in your face. It's one of those in your face. Okay. Four letters. Oh, four letters. Sometimes has nine and never has five. That's what it is. Is it? No.
That is
Say it over.
correct. What?
Four letters.
WAT has four letters. Sometimes SOMETIMES has nine letters, and never
Never
NEVER has five
has
letters. It's
five.
kind of an EOG type thing. You guys don't get
See,
bragging rights, but
so listen, the
bragging
hints
rights.
help. The hints help out. When you give hints, that's how
I'm trying
you teach. You give
to
hints and you
They
pull it
right in your
out.
face.
I know. So listen.
When she,
So
when she
guys,
said right in your
listeners,
face, I'm like,
Right in your face.
it
mm-hmm.
is right. It was right up in your face. So, listeners, if you have riddles or brain teasers you would like to have on the show, email us at let's talk K-12 education at gmail.com. Again, if you have some brain teasers or some riddles that we could use on the show, please give us an email at let's talk K-12 education at gmail.com. How about that? All right, so
Love
um,
it.
I'm going to talk about some back to school memories, and I'm not going to say which class we're in, whether we're Gen Z or I'll just say we're not millennials. What y'all say about that? We're not millennials.
I
I'm
think,
going to
yeah,
share
no.
some back to
Was,
school memories. Okay,
what year are they?
so I'm going to share a few, and Tiffany and Rometha, if you guys relate to any of this back to school memories, just let me know. All right, so some back to school nostalgic celebrations of relate to work on farms for summer to have money to help with back to school clothes, items. I picked cucumbers, worked with wet tobacco from the trucks to hand to the loopers, to hand to the crew in the barn to hang them to dry. So I'm gonna get you guys to think about some of your nostalgic memories back to school for our area. And a good fun fact is the area that we live in is an agricultural economy. In some areas, the school calendar is coordinated with the agricultural calendar to allow students to help with farming or harvesting. Now, that was back in the day. So that just tells you, lets you know that I'm not a millennial, okay? So here's some of the things that we got ready to back to school. And if y'all can relate, let me know. Some of your traditional gospel songs back in the day, which was pumping when you was at your grandmother's house getting back ready for school, was "I'll Be There" by Shirley Caesar. "He's Able" by the Winans. "Oh Happy Day," that was one of my favorites. By the Edward Hawkins Singers, and "Mary Don't You Weep" by the Clark Sisters. So I want you guys, before we get to head on over to a commercial break, I want you to be going back in those that's in our timeline and generation, to think about some nostalgic back to school memories that you may have. Um, and some of those can be regarding to back to school shopping, school life during your time period.
think some of the audio cut out.
Yeah.
But we could go if you want to go, Rometha. You
Yes. I
okay?
think I think for me it was just back to school clothes shopping, going back getting your school clothes, your supplies, your
Mm-hmm.
backpack and your hair. I mean, your hairdos,
Yep.
some of the same things that the kiddos are doing today. But I think they have magnified it. They've stepped it up a whole lot because now the girls are getting their nails done and their lashes
Yeah.
and all the
Lashes.
things that we did not think about. We didn't think about those things, but it's just the excitement of just getting back at it.
Mm-hmm. That is the same for me. It was the most exciting time to lay that outfit out, try it on, pose in the mirror a hundred
Yes.
times,
Yes.
and just the
Yes.
sheer joy of getting ready to go back to school, and being at the hair
Absolutely.
salon and your brothers and cousins at the barbershop, and just that time. I think
Yes.
that feeling is
Yes.
such a warming, good feeling that I pray that most students have that. If not all
Absolutely.
students have that feeling of wanting to be back, and
Wanting to be
you know.
back.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, welcome back to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. You can find us here talking about all things education every Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Let's Talk K-12 Education. So before the break, we was going down nostalgic lane, but I'm going to put that in the crock pot and have you guys to think about it because during this time, I want to turn it over to Rometha. So I'm the host, but you are the community that mean the most. And at the end here, I'm going to be welcoming you for calls. But right now, Rometha, I want you to give us some of your takes, tools, resources, and perspectives for the families for Back to Better, Back to Basics, Back to School series, part two. So take it
Okay.
away.
Thank you, Miss Tanisha. So as I was thinking about all the things, the back to this, back to that, back to that, um, I kind of honed in on the term back. And it's like, what does that mean when we're talking about going back to school, back to the basics, back to better? What does back mean? So when we're thinking about back, back literally refers to expressing a return to an earlier normal condition. So when we're thinking about education again, what was better? What was better about our state of education then, to where we are now? So I kind of took that perspective, and I think for myself, along the lines that we were just talking about, is just having that general excitement about going to school. I think when I was in school, we wanted to be back in school. I can't remember many times that there was that need to not want to go to school, to want to stay home. So when we are talking about going back to the basics, or back to better, it's like I want all kids to have that feeling of just wanting to learn. Even with parents wanting to send your kids back. Who gets a sabbatical? No, your sabbatical is on Saturday and Sunday. So when we're talking about getting back to better, back to the basics, again, just having that feeling and that urge and that desire to learn, because we know that learning is key, education is key. And so then I went down to basics. And when we're talking about basics, what are we talking about again? Just those key terms that we have to focus on. So when you're talking about the basics, first things first, most important principles of something. So we're talking about our attitudes, our behaviors, our mannerisms, and all of those things start at home.
Yes.
We want the schools to raise our children, but that's not how it's supposed to be. Things are out of order when we have set those type expectations. So when we're talking about those behaviors, those mannerisms, and those attitudes, what are we setting at home? What are we setting at home? Because it starts
Yes.
there. And then better, when we're talking about better, we're talking about how much more effective things can be. And as the radio show started, it said Christian media with the spirit of excellence. And I said, Lord, thank you, because that is exactly where I was going, the spirit of excellence. So when we're talking about education, we're talking about things being done in excellence. And how do we get to that? And it's like, oh, I'm glad you asked. We have to be willing, have a willing heart, willing to do our best and willing to be your best. And again, that all goes back to having that positive attitude and what's set before you at home. And I do understand that there are so many kids who do not have that positive attitude or those expectations set at home. So we as educators, we have to do a better job at setting those positive affirmations and just having kids to believe that they can, because without that, then you don't think you can. And we know that kids can learn, all kids can learn, but they have to have that positive attitude, that positive mindset, and that's all operating out of a spirit of excellence. And I wanted to give a quote here from activist Marion Wright Elderman, talking about education. Education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world better than you found it. So again, when we set that expectation and we have that spirit of excellence within us, then we want to be educated again. We want our kids to be educated, because when we are educated, then we leave our communities in better shape. And with that education again, we can reduce so many things. And you ladies jump in, because I'm on a roll now. We do know without education, there's no future. With,
No, so thank you for inviting us to join in, Rometha. What I would like to do is you mentioned something about an affirmation. Um,
Mhm.
can you give an example of some affirmations that parents can use with their children before they head off to school, and what a child that may have challenges can use once they get at school to set them up for back to better going back to school?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's just a couple, and for me, just thinking Bible, I can do all things through Christ Jesus that strengthens me. That's first and foremost. And then outside of that, while I was in discipline, I had kids to look in a mirror. And it's like, you are the first person that you see every day. So for most parents, most households, you have a mirror in the morning that you're getting ready in front of. So telling yourself, I love me, I respect me, I can do this. No matter what obstacles I face, I can do this. I can learn, no matter how challenging the assignments are going to be, no matter how mean the kids are going to be. I'm going to walk with my head lifted high. So again, just the I can't. I can get through this. I can make it. And again, loving me. And that's so important, that we have to teach our kids, especially in this day and time with social media. We have to teach them that you have to love yourself enough to get through all the things that you're going to be faced with on a daily basis. So if we just do that one, there's so many affirmations. If parents just type in affirmations for kids on social media, you will get tons of things that come up. But I think the most important thing is, again, is just having love for you. I love me. I respect myself. And again, I can do all things through Christ Jesus that strengthens me. No matter what obstacles come my way, I have to have that mindset. So again, it goes right back to that spirit of excellence. Operating in that spirit, then you are going to be able to move forward no matter what comes at you.
That's good.
All right, Tiffany, you have
Mm.
anything you want to add?
No, I'm over here like,
Yeah,
just warm in the inside. No, that is so good. Students and parents need the affirmations. That's
Absolutely.
how
yes,
you. That's a part of
that is
positive
deep.
self talk. That's
Absolutely.
that's a part of positive self talk. You keep on embedding that, whether you believe it in the moment or not. It's gonna start making you and forcing you to believe in what you're speaking. So yes.
Absolutely. And then for my nonprofit with my girls group, it's called Girls on the Rise. And the acronym RISE is something that, I had the girls to memorize. And even now, as I was preparing, I thought about that. I was like, oh, that is fitting. So when we're talking about setting students up for success, and you think about rise, you're always wanting to go higher and higher in anything that you do. But rise, our respect for self. You have to have respect for yourself and respect for others. um I for integrity, and it's integrity to be my best self. So it doesn't matter what anyone else says or think, but I have to always be willing to do right, even when no one's watching me. And then S, strength. Again, overcoming obstacles, because there's so many things that students face in schools, in communities, even at home. And we have to teach our kids that no, you're strong enough to get through this. Doesn't mean that it won't hurt, doesn't mean that it won't affect you in some way, shape, or form. However, you can get through this when we're again operating in that spirit of
All right.
excellence. If I have that positive mindset, we can get through it. And then
Okay.
lastly, E is for educate.
Hello, my name
Continue
is
to
Dan.
educate yourself.
We appreciate you to also now that 1570
I heard a little bit of
AM
feedback
ECU
coming in.
radio in Greenville.
God, this is Ken Ham, head of the ministry behind the popular evangelistic
I wonder
Answers
if it was a
Ministries.
break time.
West Virginia
I'm not certain.
design. One of the students defending this legislation said, "Nope, design is agnostic. The creator could be God or it could be a flying spaghetti monster. The intelligent
So I'm not
design is
sure, but
not
I'm
a
gonna I'm
Christian
gonna
movement.
kind of keep going
In
a
this
little
view,
bit
the
and just
intelligence
touch
behind the
back on that E with education.
You can put it
Um,
in the chat too.
with never
yeah,
just
What
that'll work.
rise means.
I sure
mixed
will.
up with the truth
And
of
that
Because I'm not sure if they
from
can
that.
hear during the
You see,
commercial,
the benefit
but we are streaming, so
if you only choose
the
them to
replay.
Listen to this program again or view a full transcript when you visit us
I
at
probably need to do that again.
answersradio.com. Find many other programs like it at
Probably just the
answersradio.com.
What
rise
does Meals
part.
on Wheels do? They
Yeah, I'm
deliver
gonna
They'll
have to
let
do
meals
it
you.
and
again.
smiles to homebound seniors. But Meals on Wheels does something else. They turn a volunteer's lunch break into a meaningful experience.
As small and as simple as the relationship is between a volunteer and a client of Meals on Wheels, it's really so impactful. I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. That's americaletsdolunch.org. By Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Tracy. Keep for
So
listening to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM AM
I didn't give my
WECU.
tips and tidbits.
All right. Welcome back to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM WECU. As we gear up for the new school year, we're deep into the world of K-12 education with our special series, Back to Better, Back to Basics, Back to 2024-2025, promoting educational equity for the families in our listening community. Today, we're continuing our focus on providing you with practical tips and resources to help your family prepare for a successful 2024-2025 school year. I'm the host, but you and the community mean the most. I'm welcoming callers today to join me and my guest in the Back to Better, Back to Basics, Back to School series, Part 2, Promoting Educational Equity. Before we went to break, Ms. Rometha was sharing with us some examples of affirmations and some acronyms that she has found very beneficial for a girls group that she's been spearheading and has done a very good job. But we're going to lead the discussion into our next guest, Miss Tiffany Proctor. And again, if you want to chime in, please give us a call here at 252-756-2008. Again, if you want to chime in and join us in our discussion with Back to School, Back to Better, Back to Basics, Back to School conversation, join us at 252 756-2008 for your input and questions you may have. So, Tiffany, I see, um, I see Miss Rometha gave us some tips,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering if you are able to give us some tools and resources and
So just some things, and I think you cut out a bit there, but just some things when we are prepping for, that back to school. The thing that kept coming to me is collaboration, being a collaborative partner in a school, and how we start to do those things. Is I think Tanisha's talking. Tanisha, I think your
I get,
audio went out just a bit.
yeah.
Okay.
to go back to school, which was I'll Be Ready by Shirley Caesar, He's Able by the Winings, Oh Happy Day by the Edwin Hawkins Singers, and Mary Don't You Weep by the Clark Sisters. Some contemporary gospel. We had I Will Be Here by Stephen Curtis Chapman, Awesome God by Rich Mullins. I remember that. Oh my goodness. El Shaddai by Amy Grant, and He Is Exalted by Twyla Paris. So those were just some of the songs that we got ready to put on our clothes to go back to school during my generation and your era. And if you're in my generation era and those songs are familiar with you, then these next things that I'm going to talk about are going to be very familiar to you as well. So let's talk about back to school shopping. So, some of our things that made us real excitable during our generation was the thrill of new school supplies. How many of you can remember the excitement of picking out the perfect pencil case, a backpack, and notebooks? The smell of new crayons and the crisp feel of fresh paper was intoxicating. I remember, and you guys, if you're during my era, again, if you remember those gospel songs, during that time period, then remember this particular new. It was new back then, and it was called a Trapper Keeper notebook. Put up your virtual hand or finger
Yes.
if you remember the Trapper Keeper notebook.
The
Man, you
Trapper Keeper.
tell me not one thing when I had that Trapper Keeper. And be able to hear that sound when you putting that Trapper Keeper together. What about fashion statements? So back during that time, the hot thing for back to school was acid wash jeans, neon colors, and parachute pants were the must-haves.
Mm-hmm.
Layering was key, and shoulder pads were essential for any outfit. I could pull some of those up right now. I actually remember having the neon shoelaces, and my mom went shopping for me, and I had the shoulder pad blouses that had the fishtails on them. Do you guys remember those? But they had the little fishtails on them. You couldn't tell me not one thing again. And the most
So I don't know if I'm gonna say give a few tips and tidbits, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if Miss Tanisha is gonna come back in, but I did a video. I posted a video on Sunday for parents, just a few tidbits, tips and tidbits for parents and students, or more so
Mm-hmm.
for parents. And one was, know and meet the teacher. It's like
Yes.
every parent, guardian should know and meet the teacher. If you haven't met the
Mm-hmm.
teacher, you need to meet the teacher. That way, when you're making phone calls and when you're emailing, you and the teacher both can always put a face and a name
Mm-hmm.
to that conversation, and it can kind of ease things depending on what the conversation is about. The second thing, most schools or most counties have a portal, and so
Mm-hmm.
signing up for that the parent portal to stay informed is so important because I said that I used to hate for parents to be, when they first started it, I did not like that portal because I didn't want parents to be in my grade book.
Mm-hmm.
However, I found I was like, oh my God, this is so beneficial because you can't say that you didn't know. So
Yes, ma'am.
schools are and districts are actually very strategic with that. I said
Mm-hmm.
because now they're putting it in the parent's hand. You have access to it. The third thing was check your child's social media before they return to school. We often said in discipline that over the summer, there's so many things brewing. Kids are stirring the pot with so many things. So when they get back, they're ready to address those things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it might be on site. I think that's what the kids say. Oh, on site. So it's
Yeah.
like check that social media, to ensure
Mm-hmm.
that you're not, no one wants to deal with that. So check that to make sure that's not even going to be an issue. And then I dress appropriately was number four. And then I was like, well, who's kidding? Who am I kidding? Not many
Mm-hmm.
schools are even saying anything about dress code anymore because
That's what
out
we
of
were
the
talking about.
fear, of having to deal with parents or the backlash
Mm-hmm.
that's coming from kids. But it goes back to operating in that spirit of excellence. As a
Mm-hmm.
parent, what do you expect from your child? If you send your child to school with no clothes on, somebody may just say something to your child. So to avoid that, again, what have
Mm-hmm.
you set? What expectations have you set regarding, their attire? And then lastly, again, it goes back to that respect. So respect for self and others is so key. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
how your kids talk to you at home is gonna show up at that school.
Yes.
And I told the parents over the summer when I met with my girls, I told some of the parents, I say, some of the things that I am having to deal with and discuss here in this summer program, you deal with it at home, and it's going to show up in those schools, in those classrooms. So, again, it's so important when we talk getting back to the basics, back to
Mm-hmm.
better, back to all those things. It ultimately comes right back to respect, because if we're
Mm-hmm.
not respecting ourselves, if there's no level of respect, then that's how things just sometimes spiral and just
Mm-hmm.
become just put things
Out
in
of
a bad place,
control.
out of control.
Yes,
Yes,
out of control
chaotic.
quickly. So to go back on some of your tips, those were some of mine because we were doing collaborative and checking the portal and being closely monitoring the portal
Absolutely.
and knowing how, and they have instructions, they have tutorials, because even when I taught, I know that apprehension of I don't want them to see my grade book, I'm not cleaned
Yes.
up yet. Wait a minute, I
Yes.
got 4 more grades to put in, guys, give me a second. But it also helped me
Yes.
as the teacher to be accountable, and
To stay on
I
top of
will
it.
not,
Absolutely.
I'm on top of my grades. I'm not giving you busy
That's
work.
right.
I am not giving you all the assignments I can't, grade. So the parent portal,
Great.
and even for myself
Absolutely.
now, is so amazing to have because you can see attendance in the moment. You can see referrals, even the little minor infractions that the kids don't think
Testing. Absolutely.
so you could see those as
Absolutely.
well. So when we talk about being that collaborative partner, all of those things are encompassed because once the teacher know who you are, you know who they are. And I tell educators this as well. Introduce yourself. I would
That's
take some
right.
time out to call every parent or email them or send a newsletter just so you
Absolutely.
know that I'm inviting you into this space because most
Welcoming.
most teachers, they don't understand that parents may not feel as welcome to come
That's
in.
right. That's
So
right.
giving that warm, welcome, inviting atmosphere helps them to
Yep.
feel like they can collaborate with you. I've had
Absolutely.
so many parents tell me that, I feel like I can talk to you. I don't know if that's the counselor part, guys, but I feel like I can talk to you.
Either way, it works.
And I'm like, yes. And they said, in your first call that you called us, that was so positive. So anytime I needed to call after that, it was accepted well,
That's
because
good.
I'm coming from a good place. That I care for your child. Those things help me with communication and being collaborative with my parents. And just giving
Absolutely.
tips on how to do that if you didn't know how, because we think as educators, parents just come in, they don't care, they're working. No, you have some parents that work 3 jobs or 2
That's
jobs.
right.
And when you think of a
That's
parent
right.
night, that's why it's always good to have that flexible timing for parent
Yeah,
night. So those
absolutely.
morning parents can come afternoon and nighttime. And that's how you reach, more parents. And parents
Absolutely.
sharing that when they send out surveys, answer those surveys, because your
Absolutely.
voice will be heard.
Absolutely.
Those
And
are
Tiffany,
all
and I'll also say, also another tip. I know here in Marion County, we have now what we call parent liaisons. So
mhm,
there is that, that connection
that
between the
extra step.
parents and the
Mhm.
school. So there's like more support just to make you feel
Yeah.
welcome, because we know all, just as you're saying, all parents don't feel welcome. So I think some schools and some districts, they are doing the best that they can to
Mhm.
bridge those gaps, because there's not much that we can do without a parent. Although the
Mhm.
students spend majority of their times with the schools and the teachers, we still
Yes.
need parents. Everyone needs to be speaking that common language. So the
Mhm.
more we work together, that's how we come better together, with all
Yes,
those
that
pieces
is.
to that puzzle in place.
So I just have 2 more pieces with communicating with the teachers and collaborating as a school community. It's also supporting academic goals. You can't support what you don't know,
That's
right?
right. That's
So,
right.
when the teachers send home what they're working on, even if you have a pre-calculus student, and honey, that homework is something different, okay? Don't panic. Get
Don't,
some tips. Don't panic. Don't
Mr.
panic.
Google.
Get some tips from the teacher, and then go ahead and use Google.
Mr. Google.
We are in a world of Google and getting information quickly.
And
Utilize it to
AI.
your benefit. Some people
AI.
are afraid of the words AI, so just tell them to Google it.
Yeah,
Whatever makes you feel better accessing that information. Not
absolutely.
so much that you can teach it to your child, but that you can understand what they're going through. And I want to say, it doesn't matter if it's elementary, middle, or high. Stay involved. Stay
Stay
involved as
informed.
much as
Absolutely.
possible. If you're a parent that work 3 jobs and you can't make it there, an email will suffice. Checking in quarterly so that you make sure you
Yes.
guys are on the same page. I met so many seniors in
Yes.
high school that were not graduating, and the parents already had the tickets purchased for cruises and graduation
Hmm.
parties. And I'm like, baby, who graduating?
Yeah.
Which
And that
one?
goes back to that parent portal again.
It
Stay
is. And that's
informed.
what's so important
Stay
about that
informed.
parent portal, is staying involved and staying informed. But with
Absolutely.
staying involved, you can be involved in your school community in
Yeah.
so many different ways. And I know Tanisha will touch on how parents can stay involved, through the PTA, PTO, SAC committees. There are ways that you can have your voice
Yes.
heard, and you can know exactly and feel very comfortable as to what the curriculum is, who's teaching your child, and the style in which they're teaching it. You'll feel much more comfortable if you bring yourself and be a part of that school community, because it actually takes a community to do so. So that was
That's
my
right.
tips. I can talk the entire
Yes.
day.
I
So
know.
anybody,
When it comes to education.
anyone,
Thank you,
anyone want to chat,
Yes.
let me know.
Tiffany and Rometha.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and thank you. It's much needed. Is we can't take it for granted. Thank you so much for providing the information. But I'm gonna
on in. I'm gonna bring them home. I just said, I'm gonna bring you in. So let's give some statistics and some research to what Rometha and Tiffany are sharing as it pertains to parent involvement. So it surely takes a village to raise a child. There's no denying the relationship between home and school is crucial for child success. Research consistently shows that students whose parents are actively involved in their education tend to have higher grades, better attendance, and are more likely to graduate from high school. Research
Mhm.
consistently highlights the positive benefits and impact of parent and family involvement in bridging the home to school connection. And I'm just going to give you just a few findings before we get ready to wrap up this wonderful show today that I had
Yes.
the opportunity to with my strategic alliances with Rometha Gilmore and Miss
Such a
Tiffany Proctor.
blessing.
But
Yes.
improved
Yes.
academic achievement. Henderson and Mapp from 2002 says the synthesis of research in a new wave of evidence, the impact of school and community connections on student achievement found that students with involved parents, regardless, I want to shout right here, regardless of family income or background, are more likely to earn higher grades and test scores,
That's right.
enroll in higher level programs, and attend school regularly, have better social skills, and graduate from high school. We could end the show right there if we wanted to,
That's it.
because here's what we
Mic
know.
drop.
There are some
Yes.
differences, yes, that doesn't level the playing field. But research said it right here. This is one of many that I have, that regardless of your socioeconomics, when parents are involved, as you go back to some of the things that Rometha talked about and that Tiffany talked about, your child stands a better chance. Okay. Now, before we get ready to head on out of here, I have some more statistics, but I want to. I think you guys talked a little bit about PTA and PTO. You guys talked about that? Okay, so let me just say this before we get ready to head out of here. So there is a difference between PTA and PTO. And I was a whole educator, a whole high achieving educator before I understood the difference. So here is a quick breakdown of what it means to have if your school has a PTA or a PTO. So today, so what is a PTA? A PTA is a parent teacher association that has a national organization attached to it with a long history of advocating for children and families. Focus on the broader educational issues. And the PTO is a parent teacher organization. So call your school and see what information that you can get and get involved. So remember, every child is unique. Find what works best for your family and create a supportive learning environment and bridge the gap from home to school. I want to thank Rometha Gilmore. I want to thank you,
Thank you,
Tiffany
Miss
Proctor, for
Tanisha.
coming in, being a part of my strategic alliance as we build or work together as thought leaders, educational enthusiasts. And to our listeners, we hope that this Back to Better, Back to Basic, Back to School series has equipped you with the tools for educational equity that you need for a successful school year. Stay tuned for more episodes of the series. Don't forget to share your thoughts and questions on our social media, Awesome Radio 107.5. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you back next Tuesday at 2. Thank you.
Hello, my name
Thank
is Eddie.
you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
listening to Alternative 107.